Hello, I'm Yvette Stoffert, the owner of Motley Muse, and I painted this awesome, beautiful painting. This is a really good one for beginners. I'm going to go step by step and explain all the little things and how I made the clouds and the grass and how I made the girl. She's very, very simple. So if you haven't painted before, I know it looks like a hard one, but trust me, I know you can paint it. I break it down. I'll make it super easy for you. We'll have a great time. And I also wanted to say thank you so much for patronizing my business. I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. The first thing we're going to do is sketch out the girl just so we don't paint over her. I made a circle, and then I made a line cutting across the circle, followed by an upside down U on the top. So it's an upside down line, circle. Then I took a straight line and went straight down to the feet. And then I did the back neck, the shoulder, and I made another straight line to the elbow. And then I crossed the arm across. I cut across. And then, of course, I filled in the other part of the arm. And then I did the bodice. Because it's an old-timey dress, I came down and straight down, and then I connected the lines. I'm going to do that one more time. So I make a circle, and then I kind of erase the circle, and then I made a straight line. Then I made an upside-down U, and then I went to the front of the body where the neck is, and I drew a straight line coming down and curving. After I did that, I went to the neck on the back, and I went the neck, and I came out for the shoulder, I went down to the elbow, and then I cut across for the arm, for the forearm. And then just to complete the arm, I went ahead and did another line. If you look at this, it looks like the letter V, and that shapes out my arm. And then I went and did the butt part, and it comes out a little bit and down. This is an old-timey dress, so that's going to happen. It's called a bodice. And then I didn't really like there's another arm here that's going to be really close to there. Now, the only reason I'm doing this, lightly drawing, is so that way I'm not painting over it, because her dress is white and I don't want to have to paint many layers and many layers. So I'm just letting it be what it is. And I have the basic outline of where she's going to be standing. So that's all I need. I just need the basic idea of where she's at so that I know not to put paint on it. So now I'm going to do the sky. I always like to do the background first, and then I follow it up to the foreground. I'm using a paper plate, so that way at the end of the painting, I can just go ahead and throw it out. I'm going to be adding some blue onto my palette. Notice that I'm adding it to the side. That way, I'm trying not to use up all of my palette. I want to have a lot of area where I can use to mix colors. So that's on purpose. Be very careful with that, so that way you don't have to use many different palettes while you're painting one painting. It gets annoying. So I'm going to add some white to my blue. Now, the more white I add, the lighter the blue is going to be, and the more dark blue I add, the darker the blue is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my big square brush. Now, I like using this brush for washes and big areas of the canvas. I think it makes things way easier and faster than using a small brush. Now, if you are painting this painting on a smaller canvas, you can use the exact same type of brush. Just use one that's a little bit smaller, and it'll pretty much be the same basic idea. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix the colors together, the white and the blue, until I get a really nice pretty shade of light blue. I think I might have added a little bit too much blue onto my palette. Try not to do what I did. Don't waste your paint. Now, if you notice with my palette, I like to only take out what paint I'm using as I'm using it. The reason why is because I'm working in acrylics and they dry out really fast. And so if I need more, I'll just get more as I need it. This can be a problem if you need to come back to other colors that you've mixed and everything. So I'd recommend in that point, make a lot that you would need. But I like I have a feeling that when I paint the sides of my canvas, people enjoy that much more. They like the look of it better. Those paintings, because I do this as a profession, so those paintings for me tend to sell a lot easier when I'm at craft fairs. Let's see. So I would recommend with the sky going down to whatever space that you like, whatever feels good for you. I'm going to go down with the blue to about her headline. Go ahead and do the other side. And also, while I paint, I really like to turn my canvas a whole bunch. All the time, I'm always turning my canvas. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back and forth and just get a really nice coat of that blue sky. I am not going to work with this sky a whole lot, solely based on the idea that I want it to portray that it's a happy, clear day and there's not a lot of weather going on, and it's just a really mellow day for her to be outside and hanging out. Really nice, warm, sunny day. So because of that, I'm just going to do a basic coat of blue. Now, if it was stormy, I would be like working it more and put more colors and more tones and different shades with the blue, maybe adding some grays in there. But this will be good for now. So I'm going to go ahead up against her head a little bit. It's okay if you go over your marks just a little bit. And I'm going to see if I can, don't want to go over my marks too much because that was the whole point of not painting where the figure is. Okay, so I like it. It's good. Just do a double check. Make sure my sides are on level. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back with my brush and do a little sweep just to get those brush strokes so they're nice and horizontal on my painting and I have a nice even coating. Yep, I like that. That's beautiful. Okay. So from there, I am not going to use the blue anymore, so I can go ahead and get rid of my blue. I can wash it completely, and we are done with the color blue. So don't do what I did. That's too much paint. It's a little bit of a wasted paint, but I don't know, live and learn. I am constantly always, even though I've been doing this for like 20 years, I'm still constantly like working like, oh, why did I do that? It happens all the time. So if at any time that you're painting and you get discouraged, don't. I want you to remember what I'm telling you now, that even to this day, I still have moments where I stress out. So if you're stressing out, don't worry, it's normal. But I do want to remind you, be happy, enjoy this moment. This is the good, happy time that we're hanging out together. So have fun. I'm going to go ahead and make things way easier on myself and faster, and I'm going to use my hair dryer, and I'm going to go ahead and dry all of this blue. I want it as dry as I can get it, so that way when I do the clouds, it'll be way easier to do the clouds. So at this point, dry your painting. know when your paint is dry when it is no longer shiny. All right, so let's get started with some awesome clouds. I'm going to use my palette, and I'm going to go ahead and add some white. And I like to add white to, oops, I had some dust on my palette. I don't like to have dust and little pieces of garbage on my palette. So if you have a little dust or anything, blow it out. Okay, so I'm going to add some white. Don't need a whole lot at this moment. We will later, but I'm only going to take out what I need for the moment, so that way my paint will stay moist. Okay, so I like to add white always to the center of the palette, because if I add my colors on the outside round areas, what's going to happen is I will have space over here between the color, and here I'll have space to mix other colors. So it makes it much easier. I'm going to go ahead and take my small square brush. Now that big brush that we were using earlier, you could go ahead and make some clouds, but I'm going to go ahead and use the smaller brush. Okay, so I like to start when I do clouds from the right and from the left and work my way right, because I am right-handed. Now, if you were left-handed, I would recommend start from the right and work your way left. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit. I don't need to load my brush a lot, just a little bit. I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to make little circles. Little circles. That's a cool line. Then I'm going to come back and kind of blend it a little bit. Blendy Blenderton. Blend. See how I'm blending? It's almost like when we have makeup and we're blending that foundation on our cheeks. It's the same basic concept. I'm going to blend down until the color fades. I'm going to blend. The more blending you do, the more awesomer these clouds are going to appear. I'm going to come onto the side a little bit. Just this cloud feels like it's going over there. I got a good blend. Now, I like this blend a lot, but I'm going to add more and more layers, and that's what's going to make this awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and continue again over here. I'm going to make another cloud, and I'm going to make this guy go up and down. I'm doing little circles, little tiny circles. It's going to come up again. It's going to come back and it's blend, and we're going to fade that color down. Yep, the more you blend, the better it's gonna look. There we go. I'm gonna do one more cloud over here, just a little guy. And it's gonna blend, blend, blend down. All right, okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to go back to the bottom of this cloud and add another big thing, another big white patch. And I'm going to blend it down. And do you see how that's giving it like layers? That's on purpose. I'm trying for layers. I'm working really hard to get those layers. And of course I want to blend underneath, so it's almost like I'm dry brushing underneath the cloud. So I have wet paint, but yet when I come back and I do it again, I start having no paint kind of on my brush, and it's really dry brushing everything. So I run out of paint. Now, the more shapes and patterns you put in these clouds, the more awesomer they're going to be. Make these things awesome. Let them be super, super awesomeness. I'll make sure I blend this a little bit. Yeah, that's working. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and put another one here, another cloud. Now, as I get closer to the horizon, I've noticed I've been staring at the clouds for quite a while now, and I've started noticing the closer they get to the horizon, the skinnier these guys get. So they're going to start, these are fat. He can be a little bit fatter. I should probably make this guy over here a little fatter. Let him blend out. We'll go, there we go. So now it's I'm gonna add another one here. I went double layered on these ones just to make them fatter. Now these ones over here, since they get skinnier because they are closer to the horizon line, it's gonna give depth. So I'm not gonna go with the second layer. I'm gonna continue making awesome cool shapes. I'm gonna blend a little bit. Little blendy blender tin. But then again, skinny. So now I'm gonna add less paint on my brush and do a really long skinny one right here. Skinny, skinny, skinny. Now don't stress out. If your clouds are not looking like mine, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I've been doing clouds for a very long time and I see the world differently than you. I don't want your painting to look exactly like mine. I want to be able to see your voice. I want to know who you are through your painting. And I don't want you to be a carbon copy of mine. I want to see your beautiful eyes and your beautiful way that you see the world. Yeah, so just have fun and enjoy. Yeah, that's cool. I think I could add another little cloud, another guy. I feel like I need a tiny little one. Remember, they get flatter the closer they get to the horizon, the tinier and skinnier these guys become. They're not as fat. I said I wasn't going to, but I could, since these guys were kind of thick right here, I could add another little layer here of clouds just to make this guy appear a little bit thicker than these ones down here. Give him some more layers. But I don't want him to be thicker than them. I want these guys up here to be really thick. Yeah. There we go. And then of course remember to blend on the bottom. Always blendy blender, blender tin, let it fade out on the bottom. That looks good. I like that. You know, we could add a tiny bit of a highlight here. Just a little bit, because you know clouds have shadows and light areas, and there we go. I like that. So I'm just gonna let it be. When you're happy with your clouds, it's time to move on. Okay, so while we allow the clouds to dry, we're gonna go ahead and let's start with some grass. We're gonna do this like building a cake, so we're gonna do layer upon layer, and it's not going to look great at the beginning, but after a while it's going to get better and cooler and more awesome. So trust me on it. You just got to stay with it, and awesomeness is going to happen. So let me over here. I am at the process opening a new jar of paint. This is brand new. I just opened it. So I have all this paint right here that I don't want to waste. So I'm just going to go ahead and use it, so I'm not wasting my paint. And every time that you are getting paint out, always make sure that you're closing your stuff, because that way, so you don't want to waste your paint, right? You want to use up what you got. Now, I find that doing grass is the easiest with this brush. This is a fan brush. Now they are a little bit pricier than the other brushes, but I have found so much use for the fan brush. I feel that it is an essential. If you are serious with painting, I really feel that you should invest and just buy a whole bunch of these because I feel that I use them all the time. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is plenty of paint. This is tons of paint. I'm going to go ahead and dip it in, and I'm going to start up high and work low. So I'm going to go over here, and you see how it makes little lines? So I'm starting low, swooping up, starting low, swooping up. And I'm going to start up here, and I'm doing this swoop. I'm going like this with the brush. Little strokes that go from the bottom of the painting up. So this is going to make like little blades of grass. Now, the grass is not going to happen all at once. We need to build it in layers with all the colors and the shadows. So it's going to take time, and think, but don't think too much. This is a time to just relax and allow the paint to happen. Calm your monkey mind, breathe, have a good time, and just kind of zen out a little bit. You know, nothing has to be super wow perfect. You know, just let it be. The only thing I'm doing that's consistent is I am starting on the bottom and swiping up. All I'm doing, swiping up. Now we will be covering some of this with trees. I mean, we'll see how it looks, and then from there we'll gauge if we want to add trees. And if you have moments in this painting where you're like, ooh, that doesn't look good, you can always hide it with more grass and with more trees and flowers. So don't worry about it. There's no need to stress or have any anxiety, because we'll just let the paint dry and then we'll paint over it. And who knows, you might be so fortunate enough that you have a happy accident, and boy, that's extra special. When happy accidents happen, that's when paintings are like, oh, and they just work. So I hope you're fortunate to have many happy accidents on this painting. I'm liking it, it's happening. Do you see? It's really looking like grass. Now, if you don't want to add any trees, just make sure that you do cover. I mean, I have some white lines over here showing. So what I mean is, if you don't want to add any trees, just go ahead and kind of, you know, get those blades of grass to be uneven with their evenness. So random, but yet still everything's horizontal. Don't make any vertical strokes, and cover up some of those white areas. Which, you know what? Maybe, I'm liking it. Maybe we shouldn't add a tree in this one. I mean, it's working. I was totally all about the trees, but it's working for me. I really like it. So, you know what? I think I'm going to leave it. Yeah. This happens to me all the time when I'm painting, where I have ideas and I'm like, this is how it's going to work, because that's just how it's going to work. And then I start painting and I'm like, I don't know. I change my mind all the time when I'm painting. I'm going to go ahead and paint my sides as I go. The reason why I'm trying to do this method is because I want them to layer on top of each other. And the more that they seem to layer and overlap each other, the more awesomer and cooler that they're going to start becoming. And they're going to look really whole and wow. Which I probably should right now, actually. I should go back and forth between light green and dark green and make many different colors. But right now, if you notice, I'm getting some areas with really dark greens, and then the brush is kind of wiping off some areas, which is giving it these little highlight lighter areas. So, I don't know, it's working for me. I'm liking it. I think I'm just gonna let her be. But if you want to add extra colors, if you want to put like, I'm trying to make my grass look really healthy and rich, but if you wanted your grass to have a little bit of a yellow tinge to it, I would recommend now would be the time that you would do that. So the only thing that you would do is you would do the exact same thing what I'm doing now, except for you would maybe do a row, and then you'd wash your brush, and then you'd have some yellow on your palette, and then you would just dip it into the yellow, and then you would immediately go back over and do strokes very sparingly across the green that you just did. And that's all you would do, and you would repeat the whole way through. So it's exactly what I'm doing here. The only difference is with the layering. The only difference is I am choosing not to change colors. I'm choosing to just keep it a dark green because I want my grass to appear that it's very healthy. It had a nice rain yesterday and it doesn't need a drink. And yeah, it's almost like a late spring kind of a grass. It's coming up and it's all just really good. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working this the whole entire way down. I pretty much explained everything of what's going on for the moment. So just to be kind of cool, I'm going to add in some bird sounds here so we can hang out and just relax and zen out, listen to the birdies in the water and just relax. This is our time to hang out. So it's almost like I want you to meditate with me. And as soon as you get this done, go ahead and dry it with your hair dryer. right, that looks really gorgeous. I'm liking it. So I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to go ahead and dry the whole entire painting, so that way when I do the next step I won't have any color blending on the canvas. I recommend that you do the same thing at this point. Still is going to take quite a bit of time to dry because I globbed on the paint a lot. So while it's drying, I'm going to go ahead and work on a few other little tiny things that I could work on. I'm going to go ahead and put a bird in the sky. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it. Just, only paint to what level you feel that you're at and where you want to go. But I'm going to make this really super simple and easy on myself. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of black. I don't need a lot at all. Now, this bird that I'm going to paint is so far off in the distance that we can't see him. So I'm going to take a nice, pretty little tiny brush. Any brush you have will do. And I'm going to go ahead, a liner brush is perfect for this. I'm going to go ahead and just make a check mark. Now, take the moment and look at your painting, and if there's any areas that you're like, I don't like that, I don't think it came out good, this is where I add my birdies. I'm just going to add them here just because there's like a space. You can add them on a cloud, because they'll be in front of the cloud. It's not like they're in the cloud. You could have them overlapping, which is great, of a cloud, but I'm just going to go ahead and put one little birdie right here. So I'm going to do like a V, I'm going to make a little check mark. And I made him kind of big. And then, of course, he needs a buddy to hang out with. So I'm going to make him a little tiny buddy over here. Now that bird will appear to be further away than this bird. So it's just a little tiny V check mark. Gonna make him a little bit bigger. My canvas is a little bumpy right there. There we go. And they're just way far, far away. Can't even see any details. That's why I chose to do them in black. Just so super far away. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go back and forth between the grass and her dress because it will take some time to dry. I am going to, let's see, I want to use a baby round brush. Now, if you don't have a baby round brush, you can use a square brush, that's fine. But I just feel like I would like to use my smaller round, which is actually technically a medium round is what I got here. If you see that the tips are rounded and they're not square. Remember the square guy? I want a round one now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do a coating of white and blue. Now her dress is white and I'm just going to paint where her dress would be and where she would be. But at the same time, I'm going to go back in with some blue, and that's going to be the folds, the fabric. So we get dimension in the clothes, like there's maybe a little bit of wind and there's some movement. I mean, for the most part, I envision that she's standing still. But this can help. If you wanted to, you could make her pregnant a little bit if you wanted to, and that would be cool. Sometimes by doing that, when you add the pregnancy, it gives it an element of life and new birth, and it gives it like the viewer thinks, ooh, fresh and new, and you know, just the springtime. She does have a little bit of a bodice here sticking out. This is the type of dress she's wearing. Go ahead here and just kind of fill it in with the white. Now my style, I kind of do lay the paint on rather thick. That's my style. I use heavy body paints too. So it does take longer to dry. Everybody's got their own little unique touch in the way they do things. I'm going to make the back of this a little bumpy, like it's got stuff going on. The front, I want the front to be relatively straight and the back to be bumpy. Now I do have grass. I'm just going to paint and I'll come back over with the grass when I'm done to overlap it, because I do want the grass to appear as though it is a little bit long because she's in a field. And I want it to look like a natural field, that like nobody's really messing with it, kind of a field. Okay, so I think I've got a good thing going on here. I like what I have. So I want the back to be just a tad bit bumpy because she's got like ruffles and stuff back here going on. And then we want the front side to be straight. There, that works. Like it. Oops, let's do the little boobs over here. Now, if she's a little girl, don't give her boobs. If she's a woman, give her some boobs. That'll help distinguish the look that you're trying to go for. Okay, I like it. So now I'm going to go in my blue. I'm going to be very sparing with my blue. And just doop, 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 doop. Just kind of dot her in. Just kind of, it's going to mix on the canvas a little bit. And it's going to be very like, especially over here. It's a lot of doot doots. It's got a lot going on with this back part of the dress. A lot of stuff going on. And then the front of the dress is going to be a little bit more muted. Okay, so what I mean is, I'm going to wipe off my brush here, get some of that paint off. I'm going to go in with some white and just kind of, a little bit of blue here. A little bit of, these are more straight, just a little bit. And all this is to give a tad bit of a shadow. That's all I'm doing. Up and down motions, vertical motions. The back of the dress is tappy, and the front of the dress is just a little bit of some up and down. And what this is going to do is provide some contrast between the front of the dress and the back. See what I did? Add a little bit of color. And I'm not putting a lot of effort into this. This is kind of happening as it happens. And I'm going to do the same for here. I'm going to give her a tiny bit of boobs because I'm going to put her like a teenager type level. Young teenage girl. I've got some, add some more white. It's going to be really light up here. You know what? I don't know. Maybe we're going to go minus boobs. Let her be. Let it happen what it is. Now, I do want to come back over here and give her that shoulder like she's got a little bit of a, maybe she's got like a ribbon, a sash up here or something, but I do want to make it that she's got a shoulder covering or a shoulder strap. There. Yep, siree. I like it. I like it a lot. Maybe I might give her a little bit more blue, like it's a strappy strapness that she's got, like she's got some detail on the shoulder of the dress. Now notice how when I'm doing it, I'm painting really loose. I'm not putting a lot of like effort. It's just happening as it happens, okay? So I don't want you to stress out. I want you to be very relaxed and calm. I'm going to let that be for a minute. Let's see, what do we want? We should work on the hat, but I'm nervous. I'm super nervous. I'm going to do brown tones for that, and I want to do for the hat brown tones, and then I'm going to get into the skin. So because of that, I'm just going to allow this area to dry first, and while that's drying, I'm going to work on the flowers. Now, the type of flowers that I'm painting are poppy flowers. So they're you can do whatever color you want, really. I mean, they're just flowers. I mean, they could be tulips, they could be whatever flowers, because I am painting in a really loose style, and because of that, it's kind of up to the imagination as to what really it is that I'm doing. So there are many different ways you can do this. Some people like to paint these with palette knives and just to kind of wipe them on there. I am going to use my small little brush. So this is a bright. It's a bright. Here, let me put it for the camera. Okay, so it's a bright because oh my goodness, I had a brain fart. I'm so sorry. Excuse me. So the fibers here are very tiny and compacted. There's a lot of them. They're tight, they're little. And then it's a filbert because if you notice, it's rounded, but it's not really square. See how it's rounded? So it's rounded and square, and then they're really tight and compact. Now you could use whatever brush that you're comfortable with using. This is the one that I feel comfortable with using to make the flowers. So I'm gonna look at my painting, and hopefully, I mean, it's pretty much dry. There are some parts here of the dark green that are still a little bit wet. But I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to look at it and see all the little places where there is white showing on the canvas. So I'm going to use that to dictate where I put a lot of my flowers. Also, flowers are a good way to hide things that you want to hide that you're not happy with, that you're like, oh, that doesn't look good right there. So take this time to look and see all your little boo-boos and happy mistakes that you would like to cover. Now, when we're far away, flowers are going to appear to be smaller and tinier. When it's closer to us, they're going to appear to be larger and they're going to be more spread out. So I got to keep that in mind too. I'm going to dip my brush into the paint just a little bit. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do little dots. All I'm doing is tiny dots, finding those white spaces that I would like to cover. Some can be close to each other. Some can be like this one's far away over here. And they're little tiny. Now, this is like on a hillside, like she's kind of sort of on a hill. And so we kind of can't see what's over there. And like we kind of want to keep it going. So we're making it, it's like 3D. And we want to keep the illusion going throughout the whole piece. So I want really tiny, this is far away up the hill. I want little, tiny little dots. Tiny dots. If you see any lines that your brush made that are a little vertical because of when you were using your brush, you see any occurring, like right here, you can cover it up with a little flower and it breaks up the line. And go ahead and put as many as you would like to put. Just remember, little tiny dots. She's going to have a dot in her hand. She's going to have a flower, and I'm going to make it a rather large flower that she's picked up. So because she's a little bit closer to us than the flowers that are all going to be here are a little bit further away. So she can have a big one. Okay, little dots. And make each dot have a little personality. He's a little bit bigger, I understand, but they have personalities. You know, they're not perfect little circles. They have a life of their own. Okay, so now that I got the little tiny dots that are way in the background, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work down here closer, and I'm going to make bigger ones. So like right here, I'm going to dot. It's got like bigger. It's got like 3 little guys going on here. It's a way bigger flower. I'm going to find all the areas where I see white, and I'm going to dab it 3 times, 3 different little directions. Now this is really loose, okay? So it's very loose idea of a flower. Our eye will fill it in. I'm going to dab them 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And by doing that rule, to me in my head, it's helping me so that they roughly stay about the same size is what I want. I'm trying to go for the same size flower. And try to do them sporadically so that you're not creating a straight line. We just want, and we're working in this area, but yet we're not putting our flowers in a row. Like up here, you can see they're all very sporadic with where they are. They all want to be in different directions. Okay, so I have a basic idea, and notice that they're farther apart. When you have flowers down here, they are spaced more, and the further they get up there, the closer they are to each other because they're far off into the distance, and this will give us an illusion of depth. So now I'm going to work in this middle area here, and these ones I made them with 3 dots to help me to keep them all the same size. Now I'm going to do these, and I'm going to do them in just 1 bigger dot. See that? How it's 1 big dot? These ones were tiny little skinny tiny little guys, and now these ones are bigger, but I'm only going to do them 1 dot, so that way they're not as big as these ones down here. And I'm just going to kind of work it. I'm going to cover up everywhere I see a white patch. Now some of these can get a little bit closer than these, but I still don't want them like clustered like I have up here. I want to continue to have that illusion going on with the depth. So be very sporadic and then come in and fill in as needed. Some can be close to each other. Every so often it's okay to break up the pattern and let them be closer to each other. That's totally cool. I'm liking that. I think I can add some more. I'm liking it. It's happening. Okay, so I like them so far. I'm going to take a quick little break from these guys for a second so I can continue working, and I will revisit it. You know what? As I was talking, I was looking. I could come up here and do some little tiny guys up here just because I feel like I have too much of a cluster down here. I want to make these guys feel like there's more going on. So I'm going to add more dots. I'm going to be very random. Just add them up here, get them all over the place. Just little tiny guys. If you have a big one every once in a while, it's okay. It's okay to have a big one. You almost got a line going there. I don't like that. Yeah, okay, that's working. I'm gonna let that be for a minute. I most likely will come back and revisit it. I'm gonna go ahead and wash my brush. Let's see, I don't feel that she's all the way dry yet, so I'm gonna take the hairdryer really quickly. What happens is I want her to be as dry as I can get her, so that way when I go to do the skin and everything, I'm not mixing in with the blue and the white. Be about good. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on the skin first. Let's see, so I've got a lot of different browns that I like to use. Some lend themselves better to skin. I am gonna make her fair skinned because usually when I paint, I always like to kind of put myself in there, so it's kind of a self-portrait sort of, and I'm fair skinned, so You choose whatever color, you know, whatever color skin you want, go for it. I am going to put a little bit of brown in here. And yeah, it's pretty dark, but I'm going to add some color to it. So it's gonna work out. Trust me, it's just gonna take a second. We're gonna have to mix a few colors. If you already have a skin color right out of the tube that you'd like to use, go ahead and use that. I recommend that you do that. But if you want to mix, it's a little harder, but it's okay. Don't worry. We all gotta get challenged somewhere. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a little bit of a base of the brown. So I'm going to do the basic idea of where her arm is. Now this is a base coat. All right, okay, so I got that. Now I'm gonna go in here with some white. Remember how I said if you put the darks around in the middle, you put the white in the middle of the palette, you put all the dark color, the colors around the rim of the plate, and then you have all this space here to mix. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix a really light brown. I took a little bit of this brown, I came up here and I'm mixing an area of some light brown. I'm gonna add that in there. Lighten this area up a little bit. And I'm mixing on the canvas. It's where the magic of the paint is going to happen, on the canvas. All right, I'm going to go in with a little bit of red and mix that in here. And what that's going to do is make it a little bit peachy. Oops, nope, not what I wanted. That was too dark. Yep, I am not liking this shade. I did want some rosiness, but that's just a little bit too much rosy for me. Mixed in some more brown and some white. Just gotta play with the colors for a little bit. Till you finally get a tone. Now see, that warms it up a little bit, a little tint in there to that brown. There we go, I got a little peach going on. I like that. Yes, there we go. It's coming. I'm gonna do the neck. Okay, so now I'm going to be very brave and do the face. Braveness, here we go. It's going to be very brave, and I'm just going to do it. She's got a face. She's got a little bit of a chin. A little tiny bit of a forehead comes out because she does have eyes. Oops. Ooh. I dabbed my arm into the paint. That's a good thing. Be careful because the red's still wet and you don't want this to happen and then you start making blotches all over the place. So Yeah, I'm liking what I see. It's good. It seems to make sense. Okay, so I love the skin tone I've got. I'm going to add a lot of white in here and really lighten this color up a lot. Now what I'm doing is I'm creating a highlight. See how it's much lighter than that other shade? Now this is going to be, let's see, we're going to do right here in the middle, a little highlight. Right here, a little bit of a highlight color. So it's two-toned. Didn't work, it just wiped off the other color. Just blend it in. The more you blend with skin, the more it works. It just works so much better if you blend. The more you blend, the more it just everything. So go back and forth between the colors. And what we're trying to look for is dark areas and light areas. The dark areas typically tend to be the sides. You want to think of the arm as like a tube, and like how light would bounce off a tube. So the sides are a little bit darker, and then the middle part's a little bit lighter, where the light would be bouncing off. And then also to give a distinction between what hand is in front, I'm going to use a little bit of a highlight color, and it's going to go against that other hand, therefore making it appear as though it's in front. Now I'm going to put flowers, so I'm not going to freak out about the hands a whole lot. I'm putting a little bouquet in her hands, so a little bit is all I need. I do want to make the neck a little tiny bit darker, just because there's a shadow cast down from the face. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm liking it. Okay, so let's see. I would really prefer to have this dry before I go on to the next steps with her hair and the hat. Let's see, the hat. We can work it a little bit on the hat while we let everything else dry. So the hat is more like, it's going to be like a straw hat. So I'm going to add some yellow onto my palette. I don't need a lot, just a little. And with these browns that I've created, I'm going to kind of work it in to get it very, okay, I just want to make sure I'm still on the camera so you can see everything I'm doing. All right. Okay, so let's see. So we do want the hat to not look like it's part of her body and that it's something else, right? So I'm going to take a quick second, wash off my brush really good. Okay. I'm mostly I'm gonna kind of outline where the hat goes, just so I have a basic idea of where I'm going, and then I'm gonna work with it. So her hat, the brim is like meow, comes across here, and then she's a round part, which is way too high, right? I messed up because I'm giving her a huge hat, which totally is cool. They wore big hats back in the day, right? I wished I would have went more with the blue here, but I didn't. That's okay, we'll work with it. She's got like a brim and it comes down, and she's gonna have hair too. So just so I can have a basic idea where the hat goes. Now we're gonna put a bunch of, you know what? I was gonna do a straw hat, but I'm not liking it. I think blue and white is better. I'm feeling it. Okay, so we had a happy accident. Well, we still could, but I just feel like the blue and the white would just go so much better with that dress. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and dry it really well so that way I can cover on top of it with other colors and they won't mix, because if I add the blue with the yellow, it's going to make green and I don't want her to have a green hat. So I'm going to go ahead and fix my happy accident just by drawing the painting all the way. Okay, it's taking forever to dry, and as I was watching this happen, when I was looking at my painting and seeing what could I do to fix it, I'm going to go back into my flowers and work a little bit on that while it's still kind of drying. Back and forth, back and forth. That's I don't know if you've watched a lot of my videos, but I really am a back and forth painter a lot, all the time. Okay, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to give myself some more flowers. I want this to be like overflowing flowers. Flowers of happiness everywhere. Now the more, having some close together and some far apart is going to start making this painting feel as though it's more of a wild field than it is, then it's like a curated, somebody tried to plant these things. And I want this to look more like a field. Now I did bump into these flowers, so I'm going to go ahead and make a huge flower here so I can cover up where my arm was bumping into the painting. Remember how I dabbed them 3 times so that way I could keep the size going? Okay, I'm going to give her some flower bouquets. So here's where I can kind of cover up the hand a little bit, that she's got a bunch of different flowers that she's picked up and she's carrying them. Yep, I put 3 dots and I feel like that covers the hand very nicely. Yep, I'm liking it. It's good. While I'm still waiting for it to dry, I can go ahead and touch up some areas of the grass on her skirt. So I took my fan brush, cleaned it. Now I'm going to go back into this green and flick some grass up onto the skirt. Not a lot, just a little. Oops, you know what? It started drying and I want it to be a little fluid. So I'm going to add a little bit of water onto here to help loosen this paint up a little bit. And I'm going to go and flick. Ooh! Ah! Ooh, happy accident, happy accident. Too much. Too much. Too much. Wipe it off, and I can do that because everything underneath is dry. Since everything's underneath is dry, it's allowing me to do what I need to wipe it up. There we go. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to open my little bottle here and get some fresh liquidy paint. This paint is not the texture I need it to be. Okay, let's see. I'm working in some paint over here to see if I can get this to mixing it around a little bit. The water into the paint. I think I might have gotten it. There we go. There, so it looks like tall grass. She's in the tall grass. Work it down a little bit so it appears to be layered. There, kind of fades off. Whew. It's almost like she has a shadow, like a little bit of a shadow going on. A little dark area for a shadow. There, I love it. It works. I wanted to get a little bit here, but I want to be very careful I don't go in front of the skin. I just feel like I've got too much white. There we go. Then I got a little bit on the back here that I could cover up just a little. Yeah, that works. Maybe a little on the, a little tiny bit on the face. I don't want to go into the face. I just want to, there we go. Okay, so I'm done with that. That's great. I love it. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and take the hairdryer to go really quickly so I can dry some of these flowers. I am trying to do poppies, and in the inside of the poppy is like it's black on the inside. So I'm going to do that, but before I do that, I want to make sure that my paint is super, super dry because it'll work way easier and it'll look way cooler if I do it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I dry everything really well. Still not all the way dry, but it's getting there. So the yellow seems to be pretty much close all the way. So I'm going to go ahead and this time try to do it again, but with the blue and white to match the dress. This style of clothing was prevalent in the 1880s, 1870s, and a little bit into the 1890s. The 1890s, a little bit. The reason why is because this back here, It's like a pillow, and then they have like a hoop thing going on. And then with the high waist. So the high waist is more 1870s. So I would say 1880s, but we are a little high up here. 1880s started showing some flesh, cleavage and whatnot. So I could say that this is probably 1880s style, but younger because she's not showing so much cleavage. There's not really a bump. And she's got the high waist, which she could be pregnant a little bit because of the high waist, with not wearing a corset. She doesn't really seem like she's wearing a corset in this one. So I would still put her at teen level, teenage maybe. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the white. And I'm going to get a nice little cover. Oh, I went back into my red again. Remember I said I wasn't going to do it, and I did it. Okay, I knocked over my stand. Let me fix it for a second. I knocked it over. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, glob on some white paint so I can cover up that yellow. We're going to start again. I'm going to make her hat huge. She's going to be wearing this ridiculously huge hat. Because that was a style too in the 1870s. And she's going to have a bunch of flowers on here. And it's going to be a hat and a half. So I would say this is very British, maybe. It was very prevalent to wear hats at that time. In Britain with this style. Not so much in the Americas, really, a little bit. It was more of a European thing. Oh, that's good. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush. I do want to do some hair. My hair is very, it's considered black. Like, I just bleached it a little bit, and I used a 40 developer on it. So like, yeah, and I had it on there for like, I think I did it for like 50 minutes, and I got a blonde out of it, and nothing happened to my hair, and it didn't fall out. So I think because of that, it's safe to say my hair is a black tone. So I'm going to go in here with some black and give her hair. Now, do I want her to have a bun? What's going on here with this hat? What's happening with her hair? I'm going to cover up the ear just a little bit. She's going to have lots of full hair. It's going to come down. And this is kind of up to you and what you're going on with your hair. I still haven't decided how long her hair is yet. She got like a low bun. I could put her with a low bun. Or just, short hair. Kind of just is what it is. Should I give her some bangs? Yeah, let's give her a little bangs. Oh, geez, I keep touching that red of the painting. I'm leaving the edges really bumpy, and by not having a crisp edge, it's going to give the imagination that it's curly hair, that she has a bunch of curly hair. Yep, I like it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give her a tiniest, littlest dot for an eye. She's got two eyes because she's facing us. She's looking at us. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, wash the brush. I'm going to give her a mouth. Should give her eyebrows too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give her a red mouth. You could go pink if you wanted to. Alrighty then. Ah! Don't worry, it's gonna happen. It's layer by layer. We're working on this. It's gonna happen. I need a nose with shadows and shading, and I feel like the hat is just way up there. So I'm gonna reshape the hat. I think it might help. And if you don't like what you have, don't worry about it. Let it dry. When it dries all the way, we can paint right over it and it'll all work out really good. So if you don't like it, just let it dry and then we'll paint all over it. Oh, that went out too far. That's okay, I'll cover that up with color. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let this completely dry as much as I can get it to dry. Okay, so I was looking at the painting, seeing how can I fix this? How can I make it happen? So I'm going to go ahead and with a liner brush, I'm going to add like a strap coming down from the hat. Kind of like Gone with the Wind, how she's got a little thing to hold on her hat. Do you see that? And then, of course, it's going to have a little, where I can little place to, you know, little things. So it's a little strap on the head, and then it's got a little bit of like strings where she's tying the hat. There we go. Which means I feel like I should bring this hat down a little bit lower. I want to bring the hat lower. I needed to wait for all that black to dry before I could do that. Total Gone with the Wind. Okay. Gonna let that dry for a minute, and I'm gonna come back and add some flowers onto it. In the meantime, though, I'm gonna use that small bright, filbert bright that I was using earlier, and I'm gonna go ahead with the black. And inside of these flowers, I'm gonna add dots of black. See, and not all of them, just the really big ones. That if I see something, I'm like, oh, I don't like that happened in that flower. Little areas that I can. Not all the flowers, just a couple. Yeah, I think that works. Because then it's like those are the flowers that are facing me. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and just do it. Just do it. There. I've got this little thing going on where I accidentally rubbed my arm on it, and I don't like that. So what I'm going to do to combat that is I'm just going to add more flowers to my painting. That's all I got to do. Hide all those little boo-boos, just add more flowers. So wash my brush really good to get that black off. And then I'm going to come in here and add a flower and cover up the area. One, two, three. There we go. Cover up the boo-boos. Now it's kind of clustery there, so I'm going to kind of need to cluster over here just to make it make sense. And now with these ones, I am not going to add the black dot. I'm just going to let them be what they are. And it's like you don't see the black dot because they're not open facing us. Which means since I added more here, I really need to add more. Oops, that was a big one. It means I need to add more up here because remember how I said the further back we go? Like it's sparse up here, but then the further we go back, the more we're gonna see a cluster of flowers. So I had to add a lot of little flowers back here to make it make more sense. I'm gonna take a quick moment and do the sides just cause. Get a little bit going on there. And you're still keeping the idea of the big flowers up close and the smaller flowers farther away. I'm going to do this side really quick. Little dots. And bigger dots down here. Okay, and I'm just gonna not do anything on this front row. I'm just gonna leave that one, just let it be with grass. Okay, so I'm taking a quick look at it, seeing if there's any areas that maybe could use some more flowers. I think really the more flowers you put, the more awesomer it's gonna be because, you know, flowers, that's what we're painting. Those such lovely flowers. Okay, so now I'm gonna add some flowers onto the hat, but I really need to allow it to dry. You know what? I'm gonna work on that nose really quick here. I'll wash my little brush. I'm gonna go in with some darker color just to give me a nose, a little bit of a shadow. Oh, too much. Oh, she looks like a little piggy. Little piggy. Now be careful I don't rub my painting. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back and forth with some colors, adding some shadows and some highlights, like cheeks can have some highlights. The bridge of the nose with like, oh, don't want to wipe my painting. Be careful. It's really wet paint right there. The nose can have like a little bit of a highlight. Forehead, the T-zone of the forehead. Okay, so I added enough paint, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go in here and just blend, blend, blend. Just like when we're doing makeup and we blend, same thing. Okay, so I'm gonna go with that white and just, you know what, I'm gonna actually go with the black and get the black to come down just a little bit on the side here, make her face a little more skinny, making sure that I leave it bumpy so it's not like a straight line. There we go, I'm liking that. I don't know, looks like a Lego. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, and I really globbed on that white up there, so I prefer that if it's all the way dry, it'll be way easier to make the flowers. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to dry it really well. Was looking at this painting as I was drawing it, and I noticed that her neck is really large compared to her arm. So that's a quick fix. I'm just gonna put some more hair. So I'm gonna dab in some black and just let the hair come down a little bit lower. There we go. I like that. Okay, so now I was looking at her face, and one of the things I was not really liking about it was that I feel like the mouth is way too big. So I'm gonna go ahead and wash my brush, get all that black out, and I'm gonna go and use skin tone and make her mouth a little bit smaller. There we go. She needs eyebrows. The poor lady needs some eyebrows. I'm gonna put a little bit of a shadow on that nose. I need to blend that in for a second. Now I'm feeling like this brush I have is really big and not a good one to do for what I'm doing here. Blend, blend, blend. Yes. Ooh, I'm loving it. Okay. I think I've got the face good. I would like to give her some eyebrows, so I'm going to go and see if I have a skinnier, finer liner brush that I can use. The skinniest, liniest brush I've got. It's a tiny little brush. Let's see, I've got this guy. This one's pretty good. It's a little tiny, skinny liner brush. I feel like that's still too big. So the littlest amount of black, and it's just going to be a little eyebrow. Ooh, shit. Okay. I need to let it dry. The other one seems to do pretty good. I can bring down the hair just a little bit. I need to let it dry, and then I'm going to cover it up with some brown to make it a little bit smaller. I want to try to give her the impression that she's smiling. So I'm going to go back in with some red on the lips and kind of come and give it a little bump on the bottom. So I'm making them larger, more bumpy. I did make them smaller, but now I'm putting that bump back in. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that's working. This white is taking forever to dry, forever. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can dry it a little bit more. So now I'm going to go back in with my bright filbert brush that I had. And my red is pretty much dry. I need to get a tiny bit more at this point, just a little bit. And just like I did the flowers on the ground, I'm going to do the same way with the hat. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just dab it. So if you're here, here. And I'm going to put some more over here. One random one. Okay, so then I'm going to go back in and say she has some blue flowers. So she always had, so let's say that the blue flowers were already flowers that were with the dress. And then she's out on a picnic today and she saw some red flowers. So she incorporated some red flowers into her outfit. But she'd already had some blue flowers to begin with. So all there are is dots. Yep. There we go. I like that. That's beautiful. Okay. I don't know if that black of the eyebrow that I need to make smaller is not dry yet. I'm going to give it a little bit of a hair dryer. At her hat, and it seems as though her hat is just a little too high, so I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's sitting on the head. It's too high for the head, so I'm going to come in with some white and bring it down just a little bit. So this is like the inside of the hat. Wearing like a big bonnet thing. Yeah, that works. I like it. Okay, so let's see if we can cover up with that liner brush a little bit of that. A little bit of that. That eyebrow is really thick, which could be cool. You know, really thick. I am Latino. Well, my dad was German and my mom was Mexican, so a little bit of both. But she's looking really Mexican to me. Yeah. And we could just try to redo that eyebrow again. Cover it up. And redo it again. Ooh, push. I got white on there. Okay. Arg. Ooh, I had it and then I didn't have it. It's so hard to do faces. If you're stressing out, don't worry. I'm stressing out too. I'm going to take like 3 seconds to get down into my painting really quick just so I can try to get this over with. This painting is taking like a million hours. All right, okay. I'm going to try to fix the mouth really quick. I think I went too light with the color there at the top of the mouth. There, I think I might have got a smile going now. Took a little bit. I think I got it. Yeah, I think I like it. Yeah, I feel like I got it. I really wish, though, that I had gotten the eyes a little bit smaller. There we go. Yeah. I'm liking it, yeah. She's got a lot of details. She's got a little smile going on there. Yep, I like it. It's good. Yeah, whew. I'm gonna give the under area of this hat a little bit of a blue tone. Not much, just a little bit to be like it was under the hat. The under part. So we have like a distinction between the top and the bottom. There we go. Yes. I like it. She's really beautiful. I hope you love your painting, because I know that I really love this painting. I am super happy with the way it turned out. We had a really good time hanging out together. Yeah, I enjoy painting with you. This was a lot of fun. I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to send me a picture. I want to see a picture, so like email it to me or like send it to me on social media. I'm all over social media. So I would really love to see what you got going on.